If 1929 was the industrial age, when value was measured in steel, coal, and the sweat of labor, then 2025 is the age of virtual value, where money is no longer born from production, but from belief. Today, everything stocks, derivatives, crypto, NFTs stands on one fragile foundation: collective trust. As long as people believe a coin, a stock symbol, or a digital image has value, it instantly becomes wealth. But when that belief cracks, everything evaporates faster than we can even understand what's happening. I once saw a young investor boast that he made $1 million in 48 hours. 2 weeks later, he lost it all in 48 minutes. Not because the market betrayed him, but because he couldn't tell the difference between value and price. We now live in a world where markets no longer produce goods, they produce expectations. A single tweet can add billions to market capitalization and just as easily erase it within minutes. Real value has been replaced by the short term emotions of the crowd. Money today isn't printed with ink, it's printed with belief. But belief cannot be measured, it cannot be guaranteed. And when belief becomes the planet's largest currency, we have to ask ourselves, how long before humanity realizes that belief can never replace real value? The greatest danger in any crisis isn't that the market collapses. It's that people lose financial discipline. When the world around you lives on leverage of debt, reputation, and information, then staying authentic becomes the bravest act of all. Young people today are taught how to make money fast, but rarely how to create real value. You don't have to be a genius investor. You just need to build steady cash flow, small but sustainable. You don't need to own the world. You just need to understand the true worth of labor and the quiet power of patience. I once told a student, starting a business during a crisis isn't a risk, it's a declaration. Because anyone who dares to begin in uncertain times is someone who still believes in people and truth in the future. If 1929 taught the world a lesson about greed, then 2025 is teaching us a lesson about discipline and trust. Don't chase illusions wrapped in technology or fame. Invest in yourself, in your knowledge, your health, your character. Because those are the only assets that never lose value, and the only fortress strong enough to protect you from every storm the world will ever bring. When 1% of the population owns more than half of the world's wealth, and the other 99% live on debt, the peace we see is only a thin layer of paint covering deep cracks. A society cannot stay stable when most people feel they're playing a game whose outcome was decided long before they started. I once spoke with a young man who worked 10 hours a day, saving every dollar he could, yet still couldn't afford a small home in the town where he was born. He laughed and said, "Maybe I was just born at the wrong time." But he wasn't. The system was. When the wealth gap becomes extreme, markets distort. But what truly breaks is the human spirit. Because trust and fairness is the only real currency that keeps an economy alive. And when that trust disappears, every other number on the screen becomes meaningless. In 1929, inequality gave birth to extremism and anger. In 2025, it may be creating something quieter: a soft rebellion. Young people are quietly walking away from the system, leaving cities, freelancing, living simply, investing in crypto, not out of rage, but because they no longer believe in the old game. This isn't a loud collapse, it's a silent migration of trust. And once trust leaves, no economy, no matter how rich, can afford to keep its people. A century ago, when Wall Street collapsed, the pain stayed mostly within America. But today, a small bank failure in San Francisco can send shockwaves to Frankfurt, ripple through Shanghai, and reach Hanoi in just seconds. Globalization was once praised as a bridge, connecting people, opportunity, and prosperity. But now it has also become a rope, binding us all to the same heartbeat of risk. The world today is connected by data, yet locked together by the same fragile faith. A single spark, A devalued currency, a corporate bankruptcy, a single tweet from a politician can trigger a global domino effect. There are no borders thick enough to block information anymore, and no kill switch to escape the shared tremor. I once compared the modern economy to a giant spider web. It looks strong, but when one thread breaks, the entire structure shivers. Connectivity has made us faster, but also made our falls more synchronized, more devastating. A small mistake in one corner of the world can now become a disaster somewhere else. And perhaps that is the true cost of perfect connection. We rise together, and we fall together, breathing in the same rhythm of a single, fragile global economy. Today, people believe technology can save everything. AI will predict the markets. Blockchain will bring fairness. Innovation, they say, will change history. But there's one thing technology will never change: the math of debt and the nature of greed. Technology doesn't make us wiser, it just makes everything faster, more complex, and easier to forget. Once, people had to crowd the trading floor to buy or sell stocks. Now, with a single tap on a phone, millions of dollars can vanish in an instant. We're living in an age where illusions are written in code, and faith is programmed into data. I once met a young man who invested everything he had into crypto. He told me, technology never betrays. But then the market crashed. The blockchain still worked perfectly. Only the people were broken. Technology didn't deceive him. He deceived himself, believing it was a miracle. The truth is, technology cannot save a financial system without ethics. It only makes the crash look prettier on a chart, faster in reality, and deeper in the human heart. Because when real value is replaced by blind faith in technology, we are not evolving. We're just accelerating down the same old road toward the same cliff, but with a sleeker interface. Sometimes I think the entire world is breathing through a tube called debt. Governments borrow to spend, corporations borrow to survive, and ordinary people borrow just to keep their lives from falling apart. We've built an economy whose heartbeat depends entirely on borrowed money. But when that flow slows and when interest rates rise, suddenly everyone realizes the oxygen tank is running dry. I once spoke with a man in his 40s. He had a house, a car, and a stable investment portfolio. He believed he was winning the financial game. Then one day, his mortgage doubled, his stocks crashed, and he told me a sentence I'll never forget. I was never rich. I was just living on borrowed illusion. Debt isn't evil. It's seductive. It gives us comfort, security, even pride, in exchange for the future. We tell ourselves everyone borrows until the bill finally arrives, and that's when we see it. The wealth we thought we built was standing on borrowed ground. The debt cycle, that monster, never sleeps. It feeds on our optimism, our fear of being left behind, our hunger to live better today. And the true cost of debt isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in freedom, and in the future we quietly trade it away for the comfort of the present. If in 1929 human greed revealed itself slowly, in the cheers on the trading floor, in the raised hands buying more stocks, then today everything unfolds in just a few thousandths of a second. We no longer act out of greed ourselves. Machines do it for us. Trading algorithms are programmed to find opportunities, but what they really do is amplify fear and desire. A tiny price drop can now trigger a global wave of panic as thousands of bots start selling all at once. FOMO, the fear of missing out, used to come from emotion. Now it comes from notifications on your phone, flashing charts on your screen, and that quiet feeling that everyone else is getting rich while you're standing still. AI has turned human psychology into data, emotions into trading signals, and the market into an automated casino where speed matters more than wisdom. Have you ever felt like you're trapped in a game you no longer control? That's the power and the danger of this era. We think we're the ones investing, but in truth, AI is investing in our emotions. And when greed is programmed, the market stops being a place to seek value and becomes a place where the crowd's heartbeat decides who wins and who loses. After every crisis, central banks reach for the same prescription: print more money, cut interest rates, and calm the markets. They believe liquidity can patch every crack, that with enough stimulus, the economy will heal. But what they call recovery is often just paralyzed pain dressed as stability. When pain is silenced by cheap money, the system forgets how to heal itself. Investors get used to being saved. Corporations expect to be rescued. And markets grow addicted to the feeling that everything will be fine because the government will step in. We've turned the global economy into a dopamine addict, living off the sedative called faith in intervention. Someone once told me, if the Fed is the doctor, then this patient will never recover. They're just not allowed to die. And that, to me, is the real tragedy. Because every time the system is saved, it grows weaker. Debt rises, assets inflate, and everyone believes they're getting richer on this yen, when the only thing truly growing is the illusion of safety. We no longer ask, is the market healthy? We only ask, when will the central bank inject more medicine? And when an economy survives only on faith and stimulus, it takes just one missed dose for the entire world to go into withdrawal.